Hey, welcome back to Snoopshow. Today we're here in the kitchen. It's about dinner time. Today we're going to be talking about something you guys probably haven't talked a lot about, and that is raw beef. So of course all of you guys are thinking, oh, well, of course he's about to cook that in a stir fry or something so that way he doesn't get sick or get salmonella poisoning. Actually, I'm not, and there's a reason for that. So number one is that when you cook meats, or when you cook anything for that matter, you break down the chemical bonds in the food. This is called denaturing. Sometimes this is good. For example, certain, talked about before, plants like kale and beans and lentils have things called, in the paleo community, what they call anti-nutrients. But those can be lectins, those can be phytates, they can be oxalates, which is what you'd find in kale. And the cooking process actually breaks those down, which makes them less harmful to your body so you can absorb the nutrients. But in some foods, there are more delicate molecules like proteins and certain types of fatty acids that you would actually not want to denature, because when you break them down, not only can you not absorb them and get the benefits that you would get if they were consumed raw, but sometimes they actually form things that are harmful to your body, like free radical oxygen species, which can cause oxidation and lead to inflammation and all sorts of other problems that you don't want. So, beef, for example, when it's grass-fed, of course it is. I got this. This is actually from Strauss Farm. So usually I try to get my meats from a local farm if possible, but I actually just moved to North Carolina right now, temporarily. So I wasn't able to get this from a local farm. This is actually from Strauss Farms. I think they're based in, I want to say Idaho or maybe Colorado. But anyway, they're a really good company. They have a lot of good animal treatment practices, and also, you know, they feed their animals good stuff. So what I'm looking to absorb out of this without breaking it down is specifically the omega-3 fatty acid, which are the very delicate little omega-3s that you usually find in seafood, and this is pretty much the big reason that people take fish oil. They're trying to absorb EPA and, even more importantly, DHA, which is a really big important nutrient when it comes to building your brain and nervous system. DHA is becoming more and more popular everywhere in terms of lowering stress levels, but also just helping to build a robust and functioning nervous system. It prolongs Alzheimer's and can help with all sorts of other neurodegenerative diseases that are considered to be normal throughout the aging process, but actually now they're kind of starting to find out that it's, in terms of what's normal in our diet, yes, that would be normal, but we're not actually necessarily living the optimal diet. And one of the reasons is that we're not getting enough omega-3s. So, back to the beef. What else am I going to get? I'm going to get nice complex proteins. So what's going to happen is my body's going to take those proteins and it's going to break them down into the individual amino acids, and it's going to reconstruct them. After absorbing those amino acids, it's going to reconstruct them into proteins that I can then convert into muscle, which is what I'm trying to do, which is why I'm eating in the first place. In addition to, of course, many other reasons like energy production, mitochondrial function, cellular repair, etc. So another thing that happens, though, number two, is that when you cook food, in addition to it denaturing some of the nutrients that you're trying to get, sometimes harmful byproducts can be produced, especially when you're cooking at really high temperatures. So that black crust that you get on things when they're grilled, whether it's green beans, steaks, burgers, onions, anything, when it starts turning black because it's been cooked too much, that is actually a type of carbon that's actually not so good for your body. So there's debates over how bad this is. Some people say that you should avoid it at all costs because it's going to create oxidation in your gut, which is going to lead to oxidation and inflammation all over the body, and like I said before, all sorts of problems. But in addition to that, or I guess I could say contrarily to that, the other side of it is that a lot of people think that our ancestors, when they learned how to cook, they started doing it frequently. And this is actually one of the theories for how humans advanced to being such an advanced species, is that once they were able to cook their food, they were able to get much higher concentration of nutrients in their food than they ever would if they're eating raw. If you look at something like a cow that eats only raw grass all day, it has to eat all day long in order to meet its nutritional needs. Whereas I can eat something like this and get as much nutrients as it would take for me to if I were eating grass all day, because I'm eating the thing that ate grass all day. So thank you very much, cow. I appreciate you. So, yes, so the idea being that since we evolved eating those foods, that our stomachs are actually capable of breaking down the byproducts that are formed by excess cooking. Although I think there's some validity to that argument, I tend to still cook at the lowest possible temperature so as to denature my food the least amount possible and make it as most absorbable, but also the least toxic, both in terms of the byproducts of excess cooking and also the anti-nutrients that may come with food, and that's more so plant-based. Animal products actually don't really have any anti-nutrients built into them. Their defense mechanism is trying to run away. So that's kind of the trade-off between plants and animals. So back to my beef. I'm going to eat it here. So I'm going to show you guys how I do this. I could just eat it raw like this. This is a nice little flat piece of sirloin. I think it's about maybe 8 ounces or so. So this is a nice dinner for me. I'm going to eat this now for my protein while I have a really big, luscious vegetable stew simmering on the stove right now at a nice low temperature, which takes a little while, so I thought I'd have perfect time to do this. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take 2 little extra things. First one is called Sprinkle. It's made by a company called Bragg. You've probably seen their apple cider vinegar in the stores before. It's really, really popular for vinegar, the company. But they also make this awesome seasoning, which I known about for years, but it was like $1 more than any other seasoning. So I just looked at it and knew about it for a few years before I finally was like, no, I'm going to try this. And it is amazing. I put it on everything. It's called Sprinkle. It's got 24 different herbs and spices in it. And I put it on everything I eat, and it's kind of a miracle. By looking at it, you think it would have kind of like an Italian zesty taste, which it does if you're putting it in, say, like a marinara sauce or on some type of noodles. But I also use it in Asian dishes. I've used it when I'm making my own sauces, barbecue sauces, curries, salads. I use this on everything. And the cool thing is you get such a wide variety of polyphenols and other plant nutrients because there's so many different plants in here. So there's rosemary, onion, garlic, thyme, red bell pepper. There's actually a little bit of organic extra virgin olive oil, which is probably very trace amounts because this is a seasoning. But also tarragon, lemon peel, orange peel, celery seed, dill, oregano, savory sage, ginger, coriander, bay leaf, and turmeric. So this stuff is awesome. This is a badass seasoning. If you're going to buy one seasoning, this is what you should buy, because anything else you're going to buy is probably already in here. So anyway, I just usually put a little bit on here. I usually use the cap. By the way, if you're ever putting this seasoning, or any seasoning for that matter, over a steaming pot, make sure you do this. Pour it into the cap first, because if you pour it directly over here, like if you think of like 90s mom making, you know, hamburger or something, probably pouring over here, the steam from the food is going to get in here. And when you put the lid back on, you're going to seal that steam in there. And what do you think this is? This is a perfect growing environment for mold. A nice, wet, dark environment. When you put this back into the cabinet, and you might not open it again for weeks and weeks, you might not see it. But all those little plants in there are a perfect little growing medium for mold. And so then next time you go to use this, you're putting mold on your food. So you don't want to do that. So anyway, I'll just put a little bit in here as just kind of a measuring device. And I will sprinkle it over my beef, like such. And then the other thing I'll bring in is some pink Himalayan sea salt. If you guys don't know about this stuff, you should get into it for 2 reasons. I feel like 2 is the number of the day today. 2! So one reason is that it tastes delicious. This is the best salt I've ever used in my entire life. I put this on almost everything as well. But it's a lot stronger than regular table salt. So if you're used to table salt, start off really slow with this. But the second reason, and more important reason that you want to use this, is because it's loaded with, they're always finding new, but I think it's something now 60s or 70s, maybe 68 or something, different trace minerals. This stuff is mined from the ancient mountains in the Himalayas. So this is literally broken up giant mountain stone, so which is pretty awesome. So it's really hard these days to get adequate mineral levels because the soil is so depleted from repetitive farming, and they're not, you know, practicing crop rotation and stuff adequately. So this is a really good way to keep your minerals up. I take about half a teaspoon of salt immediately upon waking up. It's this stuff. I'll just put it in my mouth or maybe mix it into some water. And it's really good for nourishing the adrenal glands, which you need functioning to get your day started and produce enough energy and everything. So it's really good for your kidneys as well and just keep you functioning. If this is the first time you've heard that and you're surprised about me saying that salt is healthy, do a little bit of research on that. It really depends what kind of salt you're getting, but in terms of avoiding it altogether, it's really not a good idea. Sodium is essential to the body, as well as all the other minerals that are in here, and half of them I probably never even heard of, but that's okay because it makes me feel great and it tastes great, and I'm going to put it on my steak. Okay. So that's pretty much it. I've cut it up into little strips here. So to prove to you guys that I'm not full of it, I'll take a few bites. Kind of excited about this. And, oh, before I eat this, you guys are probably wondering, well, what about salmonella? Has he done this before? Is he going to get sick? And I guess my response to that is yes, I have done this before. I've been doing this for a few weeks now, not every day. I'm thinking about doing an experiment soon, though, where I eat only raw meat, or at least raw meat every single day for maybe a week or so, and just see how I feel. Ideally, I might notice a benefit in terms of getting better absorption from the food that I'm eating. For example, this is loaded with protein. Everybody knows that. But there's actually also creatine in here, and also the omega-3s that I added that I mentioned before. But there's creatine. There's actually a couple grams of creatine in every pound of red meat that you eat. So a lot of people are trying to gain muscle, and they're taking creatine supplements and everything. Especially if you're taking creatine monohydrate, the odds of that breaking down in your digestive system into creatinine, which is a toxic byproduct that leads to a lot of the bloating and stuff that people get from taking creatine, this is a super bioavailable form. This is like the best way to get it is raw meat. So if you're okay doing this, try it out. I have never had any issues eating raw beef. I've never gotten sick. I've never had any digestive discomfort. If anything, it gives me a nice feeling of energy. Some people actually will eat raw meat that's been sitting out for a while, which this I haven't done. It's called high meat, and they call it that because apparently it starts fermenting from the wild yeasts and stuff in the air, and actually gives you a noticeable psychoactive high because of how, supposedly, just how good it is for your body in terms of detoxification effects. And almost anything fermented, plant, vegetable, meat, leaf, anything, has all sorts of effects. So try that out if you want. But anyway, here we go. That's good. That's really good, actually. You'd be surprised. Like, you think this is weird, but if you're used to eating steak, and say you eat it medium rare or rare, the only difference is that the outside isn't seared. The inside is the same. This kind of tastes like if you had a really rare steak, and you're eating it really slow, and then those last few bites you get to are like a little bit cool. Like, not cold, but a little bit cool. They've cooled off since it never got that hot to begin with. This is kind of what that's like. So if you're afraid to do it next time you're cooking, just take a bite, even of ground beef. Just take a little bite on its own and see how you like it. If it weirds you out or whatever, and your body kind of doesn't react well to it, in terms of, you know, if you close your eyes and say, "How does this make me feel?" Which is what I do. It sounds cheesy, but your body knows stuff, especially your mouth. Right when food enters your mouth, the signals start getting sent to the rest of your digestive system of, okay, we got to prepare for high glycemic load if it's a high carbohydrate meal, or we need to start producing certain types of pancreatic enzymes to break down proteins because we've got a big amount of protein coming, or bile salts to break down fats, or immune factors to buffer against various anti-nutrients and toxins. So what your body knows, like I said, before you do. So eat consciously is what I would advise. That's good. So, like I said, let me know what you think about this. Let me know if you've tried it. Try it if you'd like. I'm not recommending anything. I'm not saying go do this. I'm not saying don't do this. I'm just saying this is what I do. Here it is. You can learn from it if you like. You can try it out. You can look up other things. You can tell me I'm wrong. You can tell me I'm foolish and then I'm going to get sick. And if I do, I'll let you know, because I don't have any vested interest in this. I'm just kind of trying to share with you what I do. So, like I said, I might do a long-term experiment soon trying this out. And, as a little preview to perhaps one of my next upcoming videos you guys can look forward to is in this little tablespoon, I have a cut-up clove of raw organic garlic that right after this I plan to eat, also raw. But I'm not going to get into why today, so if you're interested in that, check out my next couple videos and you'll be learning all about the raw garlic. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys soon.